the current issue on TPLF, the terrorist group, a group that is labeled as terrorist by Ethiopian Parliament. And nice to meet you, Doctor, and introduce yourself to my audience, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roluma. I'm Dr. Jamal Muhammad Gamta, a prisoner of conscience, a survivor of torture under TPLF regime for 10 years. And hence, I call myself a survivor of torture and a prisoner of conscience.
And let me start with this question, Doctor. How do you define the TPLF?
Honest to you, still, I will adhere to my definition as a doctor. The reason being, I want to be fair on all sides. Well, the point is, TPLF is quite, if I might simply, superficially define it as ethno-linguistic organization who had been governing Ethiopia for 27 years with the facade, I repeat, or with the window dressing of EPRDF, or Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, while the true case was a TPLF kernel, which was single-handedly, single ethnic group, which had been ruling Ethiopia for 27 years. And from that point of view, I would like to give the benefit of the doubt as to what they were, what they are now. I was just really honest enough to see, to examine, to define who were they in the prison. And I asked myself, were they liberators? Honest to you, I asked myself repeatedly, were they liberators? I couldn't find one. Hence, what I was watching was not liberators, but a neocolonial organized ethnic group who doesn't consider itself Ethiopian, but who was leading the country as the ruling party, and hence I described them, not one of us, not one among us, but as some kind of foreign leaders they were. The very expression I saw was in the prison, in Socio, in Ziway. There was no one among Ethiopians except TPLF, its members from one ethnic group, from one linguistic group, who was ruling and administering Socio prison, Ziway prison. There was neither Amharas among them, no Oromo among them, no Somali among them, neither Ogaden or neither Sidama or Walaita. They were single ethnic group who were ruling the prison. Hence, in Ethiopian history, I've never ever seen and thought of that Ethiopia would be single-handedly led by one ethnic group, no matter what, how wrong the politics was. But there was no time that really Ethiopia was ruled single-handedly by one ethnic group, but the last 27 years, one would say, especially we, the victims, saw the true picture of TPLF, the facade or the window dressing EPRDF was not there. It was TPLF which was leading the country, and the rest were PDOs, People's Democratic Organizations, were neither present in crucial areas, in crucial points, in crucial actions, and hence, like what many are saying now, that it is the PDOs, the People's Democratic Organizations, TPLF didn't live alone or didn't lead the country alone. That is the chorus that you hear in diaspora just to defend TPLF as it didn't lead the country single-handedly. Whatever is happening now was from the genesis, from the way they were created. I said, were they liberated? They were not. Did they liberate Tigrayans? They didn't. I'll repeat it. This is very important point. Politicians might say it for the sake of politics. Dr. Jamal doesn't say it for the sake of politics. TPLF was neither a liberator nor democratic. It was ethnically, sometimes clanishly organized ethnic group which was designed to rob a nation and what is called pogroms. In some way, pogroms is equivalent to colonials, neocolonial agents. Hence, they were not liberators. They are not liberating. Their agenda was to rob the nation. In evidence, they have looted around $30 billion from the nation over the last 30 years. And this is what is on record on Transparency International. They have neither reason nor rhyme in their argument. So to agree or to disagree with the current situation, you should have reason. They don't have reason in argument. Their argument is robbery or ruling by fair or foul means. I can assure and I can argue face to face with any leader of TPLF. They don't have an intention to liberate Tigray. They don't have an intention to use Article 39. They don't have an intention to do with anything Tigray. That was the facade. The Tigray people is just a name. They are not using or they are not coming alongside with the change because they are not democratic and they have no reason. They have no rhyme. They don't know what to look for. What? Look, the point they have got is if they want to liberate Tigray, they can't afford it. Tigray is not something that can exist without Ethiopia. It is not a territory that can sustain itself. So they can't take the liberation direction. One. So they have no formula for liberation. I want to assert this point. They are not liberators. They are not secessionists. They don't want to liberate Tigray from Ethiopia. They were using mere Tigray people as a ladder to power. One. So they are not liberators, the point I want to assert. Second, they don't want to stay in Ethiopia with 6% minority status. They represent 6%, or perhaps even let them be 7 or 8% to give the benefit of the doubt to statistics. So they don't want to be labeled as 6 or 7 or 8 or 10% even. So take the label or the level that they deserve in the nation. TPLF and Stoods are a group which organize, let us organize and rob. We rob, we let our followers to rob, and then also we can let the West or whoever comes from behind them to rob. That is what they have been doing for 27 years. That is what we are watching now. The West is not criticizing all what has happened 27 years, for there was no credible election. What we learn now is TPLF was a neo-colonial agent. TPLF was not governing it as on its own. It was doing it by being a foreign agent.
I will come to that point. And if the reality on the ground is this, TPLF is not liberator, why the people of Tigray couldn't say no to this terrorist group?
Okay. The Tigray people have, you see, to say yes or no, you should be free people. I'll repeat it. To say yes or no, even as an Oromo, as a Namara, or as a Tigrayan, If there is a terrorist, or if you are under occupation of a terrorist group, there is no way that you can say yes or no. You are under terror. The Tigray people is under terror. They are captives of a terrorist group. They are victims knowingly or unknowingly. Believe it or not. The late information by Had, the son of Mr. Abosh Bahat, is an expression that TPLF and the people had been apart so long ago, and in my thought, even there had never been one. As somebody who calls himself seasoned Ethiopian, I know what Tigrayan peoples are. They were friends with us at school, at workplace, in life. Hence, TPLF and Tigray people, they might say for political correctness the same. They are not the same. As much as OLF is not Oromo, or whatever Amara group would not be the same with the political organization, TPLF and the Tigray people are not the same. I would assert you with 13 pointers. The Tigrayan peoples are hard workers, and we have never known them to be looters or robbers. TPLF is a robber. Tigrayans are not. TPLF is atheist, communist. How would they be one? That's the second point. The third point, the Tigray people has got a Tigrayan value. Don't lie. In Amharic or in Tigrinya, they often say, Hak Tazarib. What the day, Hak Tazarib. You, my friend, tell the truth. That is the very first word that comes from Tigray people. From the TPLF, never anything true comes out. Hence, in these very 3 pointers, I would argue that TPLF, the one I saw in the prison, is not the same with the very Tigrayans I have lived for years. And hence, they are not the same. The people is under occupation. In my way of saying things, oppressor has no ethnicity. Your brother can be your worst oppressor. Your mom, your dad, your blood relatives can be your worst oppressors, and hence, being Tigrayan or being born or being one of them does not make them that they can just not be an oppressor. It does not mean, in my view, it is an Ethiopian people with a reasonable mind that can liberate the Tigrayans and not TPLF. TPLF, leave alone to liberate the Tigrayans. I don't think how much they can liberate themselves as a person, carry their cross and make themselves free. They are not free. They are being labeled terrorists. And for me, to be honest with you, there is no terrorist like TPLF. They are mature. And if you put together Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, TPLF is much more worse and accountable for its crimes much more than these religious extremists that we watch around the world. The only thing why they couldn't be visibly and palpably become as terrorists as we call them in the West is because they colluded with the media, NGOs, and corrupt establishment politics in the West and its medias. That is what is covering them from them. They are corrupt, and corrupt organizations are everywhere. It is visibly, you can see it. There are people who have just been hired by TPLF in America, in its senates, in the congressmen, everywhere in Europe, in NGOs, in big medias. All these are behind. That is why there is some kind of blurriness, or it is a bit gray to see them as a terrorist, but practically they are the most mature, knowledgeable and well-organized terrorist group, I dare to say, in black and white.
Mm-hmm. And recently, this TPLF group is targeting institutions, religious and health centers in northern part of the country. Why do you think they are targeting those institutions?
This is a hallmark of being totally terrorist, antisocial, anti-people. And to be honest with you, there is no organization as criminal as this, and these are the limits of human criminality. And for me, it tells me they are the ultimate criminals on earth. No one would just destroy ATM machine. No one would destroy a hospital these days. No one would just really kill animals and revenge, killing animals. Animals are animals, and how do you revenge against animals? And hence, all what we are watching is, there is a proverb which says, whenever a destruction approaches, the understanding turns upside down. Or else, whenever a destruction approaches, somebody will become mad, and it is a madness before their total destruction. On one thing, these days, the world should not fool itself up with a unipolar global world. The world is multipolar, and in some way or another, we should understand, and this very multipolar world should come and understand each other than dictating itself on the other side. In one point, this event in Ethiopia had shown us that election in the West itself is becoming under question, and somebody should understand what I'm saying without clearly saying it. And hence, the West is regarding itself as an ultimate defender of human rights and a democracy. They have tried it in Iraq, it didn't work. They didn't import democracy from America or from the West into Iraq. They destroyed it. They didn't democratize Libya. They didn't democratize Syria. And hence, what we are watching now is this very ideology of exporting democracy from the West to wherever they do think is not working, and the West is, I'm sure, in the way of what has happened recently in Afghanistan, they are standing and looking at themselves in the mirror, and really even the electoral democracy, in my own view, is becoming under question. Hence, is the world really in the right direction? Is the world talking to each other, respecting each other, this multipolar powerfulness, and the ideologies are becoming very diversified, and sometimes without even being democratic, nations are building themselves, and without conducting elections, some countries are doing much better job than those who have conducted elections. And there is no way that one can just become the high saint of democracy and governance, and the Chinese Communist Party is doing as good as the Americans are doing, and over the last couple of decades, they have brought millions, if not billions, of people out of poverty, whereas what we are watching in the rest of the world, even to be questioning about recent elections in the major democracies around the world, is not bringing up the change that the people need. Something unwanted is coming out of elections. And at the same time, these people who have not conducted as free and fair elections would not have a moral standard to dictate other countries to conduct free and fair elections. And on the recent election in Ethiopia, it was being very much applauded, and the democratic, or those who do just call themselves the defenders of democracy, are fighting against a free and fair election. And really, this is a time to stand and look and give ourselves a broader spectrum as to which direction we should go as global citizens, because no one is superior to the other side morally. As we are watching the conflict in Ethiopia, the West is purely behind a terrorist group, and I'm sure many of the thinkers are watching and questioning what is going on. And I am in the West. They sheltered me in a difficult time. I'm grateful, but what is going on in their support to the terrorists is giving me a question or a conundrum. what is going on. They sheltered me, thank you very much. And they are also supporting the terrorists with their medias, with their NGOs, and with their even certain very reputable organizations are becoming tainted, like Amnesty International is infiltrated by TPLF agents, and whatever way the humanitarian aid TPLF is using since its 1980s till now, they are using aid alongside with politicization or weaponization of aid, which is quite really untouchable area.
Well,
That's
Dr.
what I would like to say, honestly. The double standard in the West, and they are fighting free fair election, the best one that had ever happened in Ethiopia, and they are just fighting a democratic process.
You had been in jail for a long period of time. You are telling us there are many people exiled because of TPLF. Are they equally fighting against TPLF today?
No, let me be honest with you. TPLF was a cause on immigration papers. Whoever have been coming to migrating to UK over the last 30 years, UK or Europe or United States of America, many of them, whether they were victims or not, they were blaming TPLF. Okay? The true victims like me would not hesitate with the victims, the minority, 5% among the migrants, would not hesitate to blame TPLF and call them terrorists. But there are people who have used them as a case for economic migration. And there are groups among the migrants who doesn't want the process of migration to end. And hence, now and then, they fabricate causes. There should be a cause for migration, for human trafficking, for illegal immigration. And hence, now there is a fake OLF in diaspora. I can say 100%. The people who are just complaining to be OLF or Oromo Liberation Front in United States of America, they have never been a member of OLF. They never know it. They used it while they were writing their asylum application paper, and now they are feeling right to use it against Ethiopian government for the migration causes never to die. They should keep alive complaint. They should keep alive migration. This is business. This is multi-million-dollar business. It is a multi-million-dollar human trafficking business. So it is not we all migrants who are opposing TPLF. We, the people whose human right was being degraded, who survived torture, who survived all kinds of dehumanization, would honestly, bravely say TPLF was a terrorist, is a terrorist, neither a liberator of Tigray, nor then, nor today. Even today, TPLF would never say any word about liberating Tigray. Banked their money in foreign countries. They didn't invest. Since their inception till today, it is all about food and the politics for TPLF. Tigray people is just the name on which they should come to power, on which they should make money. And hence, whatever is going on, the truth on the ground tells. The Tigray people is as poor as they were. They were poor. They are poor. And hence, there was nothing TPLF has changed. The only thing that they have changed is they have looted in the name of Tigray people, and they have got, or they have created their elite or ruling class who has got their children elsewhere living like the West. All that is done. This is not only done by the way TPLF, many politicians in Ethiopia, they just use it for monetary reason, for financial reason, like also an Oromo struggle is monetized, commoditized, and all the last 30 years, it just become an agent for migration and freedom in the West, much more than freedom for Oromos in their own country.
Yeah, let me forward this question to you, Doctor. Do you think the TPLF is claiming the central power or secession nowadays?
Honest to you, in some way, we should be capable of criticizing our public, and TPLF is not doing on its own strengths, and they have really bought and sold people on a marketplace and got for the last 27 years, and they are doing the same thing in diaspora with the money they have looted. And hence, the only intention in TPLF is just really to enslave Ethiopians, and in the current situation, they are functioning as a neocolonial agent, as an agent for Egypt, so that Ethiopians will not have a power over Nile River and its sources. And hence, what they are doing, and behind Egypt, it is the West, because Egypt is a liaison between Middle East and the rest of the world. Hence, what TPLF nowadays is doing is not as a party, as one of the parties in Ethiopia, they are acting as a neocolonial agent. I better deal with them openly in broad daylight. They are foreign agent now. They are not one of us. They were not doing it that way, and they are not doing. They are a sellout in a broad daylight. They are just a foreign agent. They are stood for Egypt. They are doing all their best to disintegrate, to disempower. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the country is becoming stronger than whatever they have imagined. They have never been a powerful federation. The real federation is now working like an oiled machine, and the uprising of the people, the unity of the people is sending a shiver down their spine, and not only down their spine, down those enemies behind them, and Ethiopians are coming stronger than any time before in their history. The federal system is working much now than it has never been used before, and hence all what is going on is a blessing in disguise. TPLF was thinking the country would disintegrate, but Ethiopians are coming stronger together and showing how much they defend their right, their sovereign power, and defend their nation to their neck. And so what is going on is, honestly, it's what makes me very proud from being here. And TPLF is just, they were awakened to what has happened. They intended something big to conquer back and to enslave the people, but the people have said enough is enough. And they are shocked, and their plan has badly backfired. Ethiopia is so strong now than it used to be in another time. There is no country in the world in which the young would beg, let me go and fight. There is no country like Ethiopia in which the young would say, let's go and fight. And in whatever language or background, the people are united, no matter what. There are political issues on which we don't agree. The people say, let's have the country first, and then comes the political negotiation, the political discussion. Honestly, we would be waiting for that very time. And hence, the federal state, or the ethno-linguistic federalism that was being blamed too much because the TPLF couldn't let it go, honestly and openly, is working or functioning like an oiled machine. And hence, they have just been aroused to awaken to a root truth. Hence, we are going to watch Ethiopia to become much more stronger, much more democratic, much more multinational, and very colorful country. And from what is going on, will come out to be a stronger nation, is what I'm feeling, and much more democratic.
United States of America always tries to present itself to the global community as if it is the country never compromises a terrorist and a terrorism. But when it comes to TPLF, the United States of America is the front runner to support this terrorist group. Why do you think this is so?
I see it in at multi-level or multi-layer. One, I always think this is a problem of Obama legacy and if his corrupt leftovers. In one way, I will try to explain it that way. There were people who were just being put or whom the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi has pocketed them. Some of Obama era leaders of African issues, they were being bribed, they were being blackmailed. And hence, those leftovers of Obama time are having an influence on Biden administration is one way I am thinking. So it is a corrupt democratic leftovers from Obama era is one explanation. So it might be really to give the benefit of doubt to this wonderful nation called America, to give the benefit of the doubt, this might not be a national issue, but individual Democratic Party corruption. That is one thought. Second, there is a conspiracy theory, which many people should always talk. Americans and the West like minority, because the minority always needs a help from outside powerful countries, and hence would that very conspiracy theory working so that the Americans and Europe is trying to impose a minority on Ethiopians? That is one possibility. That is one possibility. So the West being behind the minority for divide and rule and using them as a neocolonial agent. That is a second possibility I'm thinking. The third possibility I am giving is that many people should say TPLF is a creation of the West during Cold War. They were foot soldiers of the West to bring down Mengistu Haile Mariam regime, and so that there is a lot of connection between TPLF and what the West intends to do with Horn of Africa. That is the third point. The fourth point is the West is behind Egypt in an argument across the riparian politics of Nile. Hence, they want to support Egypt. Egypt has got its to TPLF, and behind Egypt there is the West. So they don't want to see a united, stronger Ethiopia, which would control Nile and its resource or its basins. Hence, the West might be trying to use TPLF so as to favor Egypt in the geopolitics of Horn of Africa. So all are possible, or the combination of all. And the other is also in the West itself. For me, I call myself as somebody who has got an insight of what is going on. Is the election working itself? How will the outcome of the last election in the United States of America, did it come up with the right person, right to do this job? All the problems go around, is really election even working in the democratic countries? I'm not any form or shape against democracy, but is it functioning in America? Because Americans are very much polarized than any other time in their history. They were polarized under Donald Trump. They were polarized under Obama. They are still polarized today. And really, is the election in America doing the job it should do for America itself? Is some way I am thinking. And hence, all these factors should come into the play as to what kind of action they are taking, or else they might be also in confusion, because no nation on earth with the right mind would like to create enemy out of 110 million or 120 million Ethiopians. All Ethiopians are now quite aggressive and not in good terms with the United States of America, but everybody loves, including me, United States of America and Western civilization. But the way they are doing the politics in broad daylight, I repeat it, in broad daylight, supporting terrorists that has exiled millions of us into their country, that has looted billions on record, while they are always saying United States of America or Western Europe doesn't support anything like looting or corrupt. They are supporting in broad daylight, and this is a disgrace for the Western civilization and moral standard at all. And I don't think that they are doing with the right mind.
Dear viewers of OBN Horn of Africa, this is our discussion about TPLF terrorist group just committing many crimes on their own country actually, but they don't say Ethiopia is our country. This is our discussion with Dr. Jamal Gamta from UK, who is a medical doctor in profession, known for his political analysis. Till our next edition, goodbye. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me on this very program.